Hi, everybody. My name is Josh Walker. I am the co founder and president of the Sports Innovation Lab. Welcome to the 25 most innovative teams in the world. This is a groundbreaking piece of research from the Sports Innovation Lab, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Today, we are launching the report that accompanies this list, and you'll be able to go to our website, download the report, read all about these teams and what make them the most innovative in the world. But it's my job today to unveil that list to you. And this research really sets the pace for how the industry is going to grow, recover, and really thrive in 2021. We hope that it's instructive and valuable to all of you as you craft your strategies and think about how sports will be different this year moving forward. So, without further ado, I'm going to share this list with you now, and then we're going to dive into two conversations I had that will give you the perspective both from the team side of Manchester City, which you'll see very quickly is the number one team in the world and the most innovative. And then La Liga, which will give you a glimpse into the league side and how they think about their properties and how the leagues are responding to the challenges of being innovative in 2021. Both of those conversations are coming up now. But before I go there, please let me share with you the exciting results of our research. Here are the most innovative top 25 teams in the world. This is 4 years in the making. Every year we've been at CES, we've alluded to the fact that we are keeping track of which sports media and entertainment companies are the most innovative. And today we are proud to announce that we have, for the first time, created a methodology driven, data driven analysis of which teams around the world are the most innovative. And we're going to dive into what exactly that means and the approach we took to creating this list. And I am thrilled to announce that we have Man City, the number one team on our rankings this year, joining us. So the Chief Football Operations Officer, Omar Barada, is joining me here today, and we're going to talk about what keeps Man City at the top of this list in 2020 and what we can expect more from them in 2021. So, Omar, first of all, thank you for taking time and joining me. We've got about 15 minutes to dive into this report, this research that we've done, but I'm so keen to talk more with you about how you guys have built a culture of innovation at Man City and what it means for City Football Group in general as you guys continue to expand globally. So thanks for taking time to join me today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. 15 minutes is not a lot of time to make everybody smarter about what it is that put you guys at the top, but I'll try to summarize very quickly for our audience on how you guys got there. Our methodology rewards teams for doing three things exceptionally well. One is revenue diversification. When we looked at the pandemic and how teams were going to have to respond to the idea that they couldn't continue to rely on traditional revenue to be successful in this year, we really focused on how diverse their revenue sources were. Could they get outside of concessions, gate revenue, media rights, sponsorship, merchandise to do things that would allow them to make money in a new way? And when we looked at Man City, there were a lot of things that your organization did to diversify revenue globally. So I want to touch on that in a second. Two is we focused our methodology on organizational agility. And what that really meant was that you had a global management team, you had diversity and inclusion, you were able to really focus on using data to make decisions. So you had data scientists, you brought data into your organization, you had partners, technology partners that actually helped you do that through SAP and some of the knowledge management things you guys do. You're already doing that. And you personally, having the ability to speak 6 different languages coming from Barcelona, but also have a telecom background, I think you reflect some of those attributes from an organizational agility perspective. So revenue diversification, organizational agility, and then the last thing is very near and dear to the Sports Innovation Lab because we've been focused so much on technology for the last 4 years, which is what technologies do you use as a club to bring the fluid fan closer to your organization? How do you let them enjoy your media, participate in the club in new ways? And we see so many really cool ideas really around what you guys do with your citizens program to bring your fans closer, make it feel localized, make it feel personal to them no matter where they are in the world. So being that that's our methodology, again, you guys crushed it this year. Really impressive how you run the City Football Group. Can you tell me what it is about your business model that you believe put Man City in this position?
Thanks for that, and thanks for putting us at the top of the list. We're very pleased. So, Man City, as you mentioned, is part of a wider group called City Football Group. Um, the journey really starts in 2008 with the current ownership and shareholders coming in and buying Manchester City with the vision of converting it into one of the top clubs in the world. And that vision was accelerated around 2012 when we started developing this idea of owning and having a stake in multiple clubs around the world to allow us to be truly global by having local presence in key strategic markets for us. So since then, I would say that innovation has been part of our management culture. It's been part of our mindset, and everything that we do now, it takes into account this ability and this idea of trying to think of different ways of approaching the football model and the football structure. So to your point, revenue diversification has always been at the forefront of our thinking. Clearly, football clubs have had a model based on three revenue sources, so match day, broadcasting, and sponsorship, commercial. We've tried to take an approach whereby we're able to diversify that by having more clubs around the world and therefore having more presence in having a permanent presence in specific territories for us to be able to understand our local fans better, to develop relationships in a way that perhaps other clubs can't. And a lot of it has to do with the ability to create content that is meaningful for our fans in those territories. So you have to know them, and technology plays an important part in that sense because it allows you to interact with them in a very efficient way, and it also allows you to generate feedback from them that helps position your strategy for the future. So as I said, on one hand, it's been about diversifying our revenues by growing the number of clubs and growing our global presence. But at the same time, we've looked at where are other areas of the business, or if you like, where are new areas that we could venture into, that will help widen our opportunities for revenue generation in the future, perhaps not in the very short term.
And to get some of that visibility, you guys have also made the strategic decision to be one of the funding partners in Sapphire Ventures. You have a relationship with Silver Lake. These are groups that invest in new technology or growth opportunities in technology markets. How much of that visibility, the visibility into the investment side, gives you a sense of where the market's heading? How do you guys bring that into your thinking and your planning?
So we're in constant touch. So we have obviously our shareholders, so Abu Dhabi United Group, who are also very active in terms of their investment around the world. Our China Media Capital, who's based in China and has been very instrumental for our development of our presence there, and also work a lot in the sector of media and technology. And then Silver Lake, as you mentioned, who have come in as strategic partners and shareholders for the group. So we take a lot of advice from all of them, and they guide us. Our goal, and this is one of the primary reasons why we decided to invest in Sapphire funds, is to really have a insight and to be at the forefront of any new technology or any new business that is going to operate in the world of entertainment and sports, where not only obviously through our investment we can generate a growth and perhaps a profitability as well over the long term, but really it's about being first movers in terms of having access to technology that's going to help enhance the experience for our fans, which ultimately they're at the heart of everything that we do.
And I look at a number of things, whether it's Tunnel and the content you've created around the Tunnel Club for your fans, or a lot of the different ways that you treat your women's program, that you guys aren't afraid to be first movers. You guys are, you got your own OTT channel, things of that nature. What's the risk profile of the organization as far as you're concerned? Is it high risk? Are there a lot of people that are like, hey, let's just go for it? Or do you feel like it's a little bit more reserved, but you just get a better risk profile because of the things that you've been able to accomplish?
I think in the world of football, our risk profile is probably higher than the average club. We're not at all afraid of adopting an approach of trial and error. We want to try things, we learn from it, and we continue. We're fortunate enough to have shareholders that buy into that strategy and that management approach. So that gives us the comfort and the ability to be able to do just that, try new things and take some risks, whether it's buying a club. We've actually in the middle of the COVID crisis acquired 2 clubs in Europe without ever stepping foot in either of those clubs. So that was a pretty high risk, but we had a very clear plan of what we wanted to do, and we carried it out. And again, when we look to invest in whether it's recreational soccer, whether it's developing our football education program around the world, we want to be able to learn as quickly as we can and adapt those learnings to our day-to-day management strategy. And I think that's something that comes from the very top, and everybody now partakes and shares that philosophy in our day-to-day, regardless of their position within the organization.
You touched on something that I think we're going to get a lot of pushback on, which is when you look at our top 25 list, there's a lot of European football clubs. There just are. And our methodology rewards them for a lot of the things that they do well. And you mentioned your youth academies, your programs abroad. I think that what is clear from our research is that the approach that European football takes, global football takes to globalization and building fans, whether it's building talent or building fans abroad, is much more authentic and real than what North American leagues do. Can you touch on whether or not that's a perception or if that's a reality? I mean, clearly there's big dollars being spent to have these academies, have these feet on the ground in different countries.
Correct. The one example I would perhaps highlight is our investment in women's football. Many years ago, we decided and we took a clear strategic view of wanting to enhance the way we communicate with our female fans, girls and women at every level. It's historically a male-dominated sport, but we felt that we wanted to, again, be at the forefront of the way we communicate with our female friends. But the reality is we can develop some great content, which we have done, but you have, in order to be authentic, you have to have a successful women's team. And that's what we've done both in Melbourne and Manchester. Our women's team in Manchester has been very successful over the last 4 or 5 years. We're continuing to invest. They're actually based in the City Football Academy in Manchester. They train alongside our men's first team. The girls' academy trains alongside our boys' academy and have access to the same facilities, same sports science resources, same data and technology that we have for all of our teams. So it is about developing talent. It's about being authentic, and our core business is about winning on the pitch. So we want all of our teams, men, boys, girls, women, to be successful and to have access to the best resources that we can deliver for them.
We only have a few minutes left, so it doesn't feel fair to ask you this question, but given the fact that, we're in January in 2021, what are you looking out forward to for the next 12 months that's going to keep Man City in the top of our list and the City Football Group in general innovating? Are you excited about some changes you're making organizationally? Are you excited about some investments you're making? What can we expect from a technology, revenue, or organizational perspective?
For the next few months, we're very focused on ensuring that all of our players and staff and everyone stays safe. It's a crisis that's impacting everybody, and we want to make sure that we're there to support them. From a tech perspective, as I said before, in terms of the example I gave you about the acquisition of the 2 clubs in Europe, we're going to continue to grow and invest. We have to protect the business. We have to continue being sustainable. So we have to make sure that the business model is robust enough. But I think you will start seeing more investment, especially on the sports side, ensuring that we work with the right partners to generate the right data and insights when we come to, for example, making decisions on players that we decide to acquire for the group so that they can develop and perform at the highest level. We have multiple clubs around the world, so there's a lot of thinking around what is the best pathway for those players and to help them, again, develop and become the best players that they can for all of our teams. So that's one area that we're quite excited about and that we're going to be focusing on the next months.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on you guys. You did some really cool things with YouTube Kids. You've done some great stuff with Facebook. You continue to show that you're innovating even with some large enterprise technology like SAP. And again, the whole City Football Group definitely demonstrates that there's strong revenue diversification across all your properties. Omar, it's a pleasure having you here and getting to know you and your club a little better. And congratulations at the top of the list.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Omar from Man City. And now we have a very special guest. Boris Gartner, CEO of La Liga North America, is joining us because one of the things we wanted to do was not only give you the perspective of Manchester City and the City Football Group on how they're diversifying their revenue and changing their organization to be one of the most innovative leagues in the teams in the world, but we want to give you the league perspective. And Boris runs La Liga North America. He's the CEO here. And Boris, I wanted to welcome you by saying you've got 3 teams on the top 25 list. So let's go through that real quick. You've got Real Madrid at number 2. You've got Barcelona at number 4, and you got Atletico Madrid at number 24.
We should have been 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, well, that's
But maybe for next
exactly
year.
that's exactly the kind of confidence that we want going into 2021. But I really appreciate you joining me because what you and I were able to talk about beforehand was what leads these clubs to the success that they've had. And at the highest level, I was mentioning to you that our methodology, which really emphasizes revenue diversification, organizational agility, and technology alignment, really benefits the clubs that have been around for a while. And what I said to you was, I was worried that our methodology perhaps was a little too biased on the fact that some of these clubs have been around for centuries, right? If you look around global football properties, some of these teams are 100 plus years old. They have a very strong relationship with their fans. They have experimented in multiple regions with their youth programs and their academies. What do you think it is from your perspective outside looking in that lends itself to the innovation and the ability for them to execute the way they have over the years?
So first of all, thanks for having me, Josh.
Of course.
And it's great to be chatting about this. I think there's a couple points on that. The first one, it has to do a lot with the consistency that some of these teams have had over their history and most certainly over the past recent years. When you see teams like Real Madrid or Barcelona or Atletico Madrid, although Atletico Madrid has seen some of the success more in the more recent years, what you can find as a common thread is a consistency from management, not only to be committed on the sporting side and making sure that the teams are winning, but also on the business side and being able to balance those two in a way that allows the fandom to keep on growing because you see your team consistently winning and getting the best players that you can, but at the same time growing and diversifying revenues. I was telling you that before 2015, TV rights in La Liga were sold individually by each team. It was only in 2015 when this came all together under the league's overview. The growth that we've seen on the TV revenue side since that happened has been great, and a team like Real Madrid that probably got a disproportionate amount of the TV rights money when they were selling it by themselves. They've been able to see continued growth, and at the same time, some of the other smaller teams have also seen their TV revenues grow dramatically, or the share that they get from the TV revenues, which creates a better competition, and at the end of the day, a more consistent competition.
I think when a lot of people look at this list, there's going to be this real knee-jerk reaction to try to compare how North American franchises are run versus how these independent clubs have operated for many, many years in Europe, to try to figure out which model's better, right? Is it better to have centralized league resources and these teams that can operate independently, or vice versa? Where do you fall on that? I mean, you obviously represent the league's perspective here, but like, has Real Madrid and Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, like, if they benefited from being able to operate independently for a long time?
Yeah, and I think that the answer is it's somewhere in the middle. I think that you need to keep a certain level of entrepreneurship and control within the teams to grow and exploit the areas where they're really strong at. But there's other areas, like again, the TV rights is something that makes no sense for each team individually to be selling, because at the end of the day, you'll have two teams probably securing 80% of the TV revenue and the other 18 just the balance. And again, I think that something like that, which actually was proven right with the model, with the change in the model that we had post 2015, was that that doesn't create a strong competition, that doesn't create a consistent competition, and it doesn't improve the level and the quality of the matches, if you will. I think, for example, Barcelona has an office here in New York City. And they've had it for some years, and it's good for them as they try to develop the market that's important for them. Real Madrid doesn't have an office in New York. So that level of flexibility on where they go and what markets they prioritize and where areas of the business that they prioritize, I think should lie with the teams. But the general principles of what the competition and the league itself should drive should be on the hands of the league. I think that we all look at what the NFL and the NBA have successfully done on the media rights, and it's a model that we of course wanna try to emulate as much as we can.
You want to emulate it from the size and the success and the growth of the media
Correct.
rights, but you have a slightly different distribution strategy. Talk a little bit about what you control in your joint venture with Relevant, but also with the OTT channel that you've been able to build so that you're getting better first-party data on the consumers that are consuming and interacting directly with the media that you're pushing out.
So the international expansion is a priority for the league, and it has been for the past 7-8 years, specifically since the new president came in. The first thing that was done was making sure that we were able to centralize the TV rights, the most important revenue line for the league and the teams. And there was a really aggressive push in making sure that the audiovisual product was elevated and was treated in the best way possible. So centralizing who produces the matches, who distributes the matches, from a visual perspective. Anti-piracy was incredibly important and continues to be, because there was a real understanding that the more you control your product, in terms of who sees it and how they see it, the more value you can create for the TV rights. After that, there was it was really a big push in international expansion. There was a program launched called the Global Networks, which basically is 45 business development associates in 44 different countries. And at this point, we have 8 regional offices. Specifically, the one that I manage here in North America operates as the league office for the region. So everything from TV rights, sponsorships, merchandising, licensing, anything that the league wants to do in the US and Canada comes to this joint venture. And it's a unique joint venture because it's the first time that a European league actually decided to enter the market with a domestic partner in such a deep integration, if you will. Usually what you've seen before in other markets is, the league either retaining an agency, paying a commission, but in our mind, that didn't align what the clubs in the league wanted in the long run with the interest of the agency. So that's the unique model that we have at this point. We launched in August 2018. We have 25 people working for the joint venture specifically. We have a content studio that's producing 16 shows on a weekly basis in English and in Spanish. And we're really creating a connection with the fan over here that the league didn't have before. So that I'll park that for a second. I'll go back to the OTT side, because I think those two things actually align. About 4 years ago, the league decided that as a way to build that connection directly with the consumer, there had to be a vehicle that would connect our product with the fans, and we started investing in the OTT service. And at this point, the OTT is up. You can download it wherever in the world. We've actually been able to go out and buy rights for other smaller sports, specifically in Spain. We have a significant amount of subscribers. It's a free product, and the technology works perfectly. It's something that the clubs from the league supported. And right now we don't have live matches from first division. We have some matches from second division in certain territories, but we're ready and we have the vehicle ready. And at the time, if it comes where we decide that our strategy in a certain territory is to go directly to the consumer, we have the platform, we have the team. We'll just put up our product and do it ourselves.
Well, that's what I think most people don't understand from a casual perspective, is to look at like a team that in North America that has several, million followers on social media. and some of the most successful teams have, dozens, maybe, followers on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. And these clubs are media companies. So you have the SPACs and the private equity and the venture funding guys that get all excited anytime a new OTT channel is getting, attention. But these are like pre-baked OTT channels ready to go when you want to flip the switch.
100%. And you pointed out in your study, and I think was spot on with Barcelona. They created their Barca Studios. And it's that way for them to actually start, not only getting closer to the fans, which they have, but also monetizing that relationship.
Yeah, they've created all kinds of new content, and that's one of the things we call Fluid Fan Studio, where they're definitely demonstrating this. It's like Red Bull's production house
Media
and
house,
things like
yep.
that, right? It's like you're able to create different formats of media to see what resonates with the fans. So you don't have to actually ask Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram what's working. You're figuring it out as you go, and you're building those skills in house.
And it's part of the strategy that we follow here in the US. I'm originally from Colombia, but I've been living in the US for 15 years or so. And my prior life before La Liga was working on a few different media companies. And when we launched the joint venture here, my idea was initially to create our own media operation and try to deliver and develop the content that would capture the wide range of fans that we have here. So that's why we produce content in English and Spanish. We know that our natural market is US Hispanics from first generation, and we know how they behave and they speak Spanish and they consume content in Spanish. So there's content that you can create specifically for them, but then you have a growing audience, specifically on second, third generation Hispanics that behave completely different, just starting by language preference. Yeah, they might be bilingual, but they're consuming content in English and they behave as, any other general market fan, sports fan, general fan, and we're creating content specifically for them. And that changes on the language, changes on the talent that we use, on the topics that we cover, on the angle that we use. And it's allowed us to create a closer relationship with the fans here. It doesn't feel like a copy paste that you do from Madrid,
Right.
and translate
No,
it
it's
to
incredibly
20
smart.
different languages.
It's incredibly smart, and multi-language localization is certainly at the core of a lot of this ranking. We specifically looked for, are there social media channels that are dedicated to multilingual sort of content and distribution. And it's amazing how global and international centric the European football world is versus our North American properties.
And it has to do with the sport as well. I mean, soccer is a global sport.
Of course, it's certainly not to just like penalize them for that, but there's a very clear appreciation and focus and investment on the international side of things.
100%.
It's not just like, hey, let's find a distribution partner for our content. Let's try to make our content relevant to that local market. And I think that has to mirror the investment you do in your production capabilities. So we only have 2 minutes left. This is an incredibly complicated, long topic. I wish we had more time, and let's do this again. But give me a real quick sense on how are the clubs diversifying their venue experience? Some of these venues are really, really old, and they haven't been upgraded, as quickly with some of the latest technology and whiz-bang stuff that's out there. But some of them are the most incredible venues on the planet. What do you see across La Liga when it comes to turning a stadium for game day into a district that has all kinds of media and entertainment in it?
And specifically on those three teams that you have from La Liga on your list.
Sure.
I don't know if you've been to any of those three stadiums, but
Not yet.
Atletico Madrid has a new stadium, Wanda Metropolitano, that is an amazing venue that has everything that you are used to in American venues. And so they've actually, been ahead of it for a few years already in making that not only the fan experience, but the revenue generation beyond just match day. Real Madrid is in the middle of doing a full remodeling of their Santiago Bernabeu stadium. Actually, with the pandemic, they were able to accelerate the improvements to the venue, and it is with that in mind. And Barcelona has a plan that has been approved and hopefully will get underway soon. But those teams that are already, let's say, maximizing the revenue that they can get from TV, that are already expanding into international markets and capturing revenue from that front, they know that the other big component of it is event and venue revenue. So they're all moving incredibly fast and aggressively in that sense. I think that that's a lot where we can learn from American sports for sure.
Well, Boris, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join me here today. And on that last note, I think one thing that I'm looking forward to is visiting each of those venues when this thing is over with, and hopefully it will be sooner than later. In the meantime, keep up the great work. Pass along our congratulations to each of the teams, and thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Josh. Talk soon.